Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Commander's Crypt. I absolutely love making these videos. We're coming to you live from New Orleans, Louisiana, and it is hot here. It's like 100 degrees today. But you know what else is hot? This deck. I absolutely love mine Flayarrrs. And if you want, go check out my review of it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about, if you want to go through the whole deck. What I want to do now, though, is talk about some cards that we're going to replace in it to make it better. Just in my humble opinion, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to exchange these cards out that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to test play it tomorrow. And let me know what you think. This is a budget and or maybe not so budget change in the deck, and I'm pretty excited because some of these cards are super awesome. There's one card in here that's kind of pricey, about $15, but I really think you should get it. I'll put it this way: if you're going to get Captain Ingithrod Mind Flayers deck, you really ought to just get this card too, because A, it's amazing, B, it fits in the deck so well, and C, they're probably not going to reprint this card for a long time, if ever. This card is just crazy super strong. Every time somebody plays it in our play group, we all just groan, and we know that we have to kill it or we're just screwed. But I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. But Captain Ingithrod, love this guy. He's Dimir and 3 colorless, legendary creature, horror pirate. Horrors you control have menace. I really like this guy. I think this guy's really strong. Kind of pricey. Man, if he was like 4 CMC, wow, he'd be crazy, super strong. But he's pricey, but he does a lot of stuff. So he's going to give all your horrors menace. He's going to allow you to mill your opponent's deck whenever one of your horrors deals combat damage. And then at the beginning of your end step, choose target artifact or creature card in an opponent's graveyard that was put there from their library this turn. Put it on the battlefield under your control. That's crazy strong. You might hit the jackpot. And you're going to know which decks to go after. Like a big green stompy deck might have a big old creature, or an Eldrazi deck going to have Eldrazi's in it or whatever. So this guy is really, really strong. I really, really like this guy. So without further ado, we'll get into the changes that I made into my deck. It's about 10 cards. Most of them are budget, but one is not, and I'll show you which one I'm talking about. So what I did was I replaced, okay, so the deck has like 38 lands in it and like 11 mana rocks. So I was like, man, 36 ought to be just fine, especially with that many mana rocks. So I took an island out and I replaced it with a Stronghold Assassin. Now, the reason why I did that is because of this. This deck is going to be pumping out horrors all over the place. But if somebody else is matching you in their creature output, like a token deck or a green stompy deck, you're not going to be able to push your creatures through in order to use Ingithrod's amazing abilities of milling their stuff, and menace might not be enough to get your guys through. So what I'm going to do with my deck is I'm going to put a bunch of assassins in there, creatures that kill other creatures, problematic creatures, and takes them out, and thins their creatures on board and allows you to use your menace with more effectiveness. So I took an island out, a Stronghold Assassin is probably like 50 cents to $1 or something. He's not very expensive. So for 2 black, 1 colorless, tap him, sacrifice a creature, destroy target non-black creature. It's not going to be the black creatures that are causing you problems most probably. It's probably going to be green stompy or white or blue or whatever. So I took that island out and I'm putting this Stronghold Assassin in. One of my favorite cards is Royal Assassin, but the problem with Royal Assassin is creatures have to be tapped in order to use his ability. So a lot of times what opponents will do is they'll just hang out and not attack with their best creatures until Royal Assassin is removed. With Stronghold Assassin, you get around that. So this deck also creates a lot of tokens. There's a Chasm Skulker in here, and the secondary commander also creates 1/1 horrors. So you could use those little guys to kill off the most problematic creatures, or if there's a creature that's just so problematic, just kill one of your own non-tokens to get rid of it. So that was, when I was looking at this deck, the problem I saw with it was you might not be able to, you really want to get in with your creatures, and there may be times when you can't. You're going to need more interaction, more death magic in this deck in order to push your creatures through. So I've got Stronghold Assassin in place of that island. And then what I did was I took Wharf Infiltrator out. Kind of a, this card also creates you token creatures, but wait till you see what I'm going to replace it with. This is a rare, but what I would replace it with is Taxrill the Corrosive. This is the card that I was talking about earlier. If you're going to buy this deck, I would say, maybe work the extra couple of hours or whatever you got to do to get this card to put it in, because this guy is just crazy, stupid, Insano, Captain Insano, amazing. For 2 black, 5 colorless, he's a legendary creature, a slug horror, so he is a horror. So imagine he gets Menace with Ingathrod, and when he gets through, he mills 7 cards off of your opponent's deck. So this guy is crazy, stupid, Captain Insano, amazing in this deck. And this was the guy I was talking about. This also helps whack out your opponent's creatures to allow you to get your horrors in for maximum effectiveness. This guy, every time he hits the board, we all just roll our eyes and bang our heads on the table, because this guy is just a pain in the asteroid. He is, every time this guy comes out, we're just like, oh crap. So, and then it starts happening right away. At the beginning of each end step, put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. So as soon as that person's turn is over, boom, all of our creatures get -1 counters, which a lot of times wipes out a bunch of cards right off the creatures right off the bat. And then it says, creatures you don't control get -1 for each slime counter on them. That's every end step. So then when the next end step comes around, the second player ends his turn after that player, after you're going to, all your opponent's creatures are going to get -2, and that's going to take out a good portion of everybody's creatures. And then by the third player, that's -3, and everybody is losing their creatures, or now their big fatties are getting smaller and smaller. Then it says, whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, create a 1/1 black slug creature token. There you go. There's tokens for your Stronghold Assassin. Then it says 1 black, 1 blue, sacrifice a slug, draw a card. So now you can draw all kinds of cards from all the creatures that you killed. And it doesn't say non-token creature. It just says whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, create a 1/1 black slug creature token. This guy is just crazy, stupid, Captain Insano amazing. Love this guy. So if you're going to get this deck, you're going to, of course, pack it with all the horrors you can get, so put Taxrill in there. Maybe exchange it with something else. I don't know. I thought this was a very good exchange. Yeah, he's much more expensive, CMC-wise, but once you get him out on the board, it's going to be lights out for your opponents. No kidding, unless they kill this thing. So... and then I discovered something in this deck. Taxrill works really well with Sludge Monster. 2 blue, 3 colorless. He's a horror. Whenever Sludge Monster enters the battlefield or attacks, put a slime counter on up to 1 other target creature. Okay, and then Taxrill says, creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. Whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies. And that's what this creature does also. It puts slime counters on other creatures. And then the slime counters work with Taxrill. And now anything with a slime counter on it gets -1/-1 on top of already what the Sludge Monster does. So the Sludge Monster, when he comes to player attacks, he puts a slime counter on a creature. Then it says non-horror creatures with slime counters on them lose all abilities and have base power and toughness too. So all creatures with Taxrill are going to get slime counters on it. They're immediately going to become 2/2 creatures with base power, toughness 2. And then after 2 turns, they're dead. And now you've got all kinds of slug tokens, depending on how many creatures were out that your opponents had. So rules lawyers, let me know. But, when you look at it, each card says slime counter. It doesn't delineate. So I would put this, I'd get Taxrill if you're going to get this deck. It works really well with Sludge Monster. Next, I replaced a swamp with Kiku's Night's Flower. Same thing with the Stronghold Assassin. I'm looking to put creatures in here. This is my girlfriend, by the way. I'm looking to put creatures in here that keep slinging death every turn to kill the biggest threats on the table, to make sure that your guys use the menace effectively and get through so they can do their thing with Captain Ingathrod, with the milling and everything. The more cards you mill, the more horrors you get through, the more stuff you can dig through at your end step and grab out of the graveyard and put into play under your control. I've always loved Kiku because for 2 black, she's a 1/1. She gets killed, so what? But I've always loved creatures. I've always loved cards that had an effect that you could play over and over again. Very rarely do they do effects like that on artifacts. And if they do, they always have like charge counters that are extremely expensive to keep, destroying stuff or whatever. Creatures that keep redoing their effects are my favorites. Of course, they're going to be cheaper, easier to kill, but that's the reason why Wizards of the Coast doesn't do that effect on artifacts or enchantments too much, because they're so hard to kill, and that would be an extremely powerful card. But the reason why I like Kiku is A, she's super hot, and B is for 2 black, 2 colorless, tap her, target creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. So she can take out Blightsteel Colossus. Whenever she targets Blightsteel Colossus, it does damage to itself in -1/-1 counter, so that she takes him out. Anything with Death Touch, she will take out. What she does is she takes their power and uses it, their attack, and uses it against them. So if it's a 1/4 Death Striker or whatever, it's going to kill itself. So again, you can use her to take out creatures that are problematic for your hoarders getting through. So that's why I replaced a swamp with her. Plague Spitter, I think we can all agree that this is like the crappiest card in the whole deck. It's a horror, yes, but it's going to kill your own 1/1 creatures that you may make with a Chasm Skulker or a Nader Kraken, which you could put in here for more 1/1 tokens or for your slug tokens. This guy's just crappy, so we took him out. And I put a Sword of Sinew and Steel in there. The reason why I did that is because black and blue are notorious for not being able to kill permanents once they get on the board. As far as enchantments, artifacts, yada, yada, yada. What this does is it'll give Captain Ingathrod protection from black and from red, which is the two main kill colors. And then it gives them +2/+2, and then, or any other horror that you put this on, it gives them more evasion. And then when it gets through, it destroys a planeswalker or target artifact. So this will give one of your horrors more evasion, and will allow you to kill an artifact every turn. And that's what you're going to do, because you are going to be killing somebody's Soul Ring or other worse artifacts. So that's what I put in there instead of the Plague Spitter. I took out Phyrexian Rager and I replaced him with Phyrexian Reclamation, just for the flavor of it. Phyrexian Reclamation is one of the best cards in Commander. The name of the game is Commander, right? You got to have your Commander out and really to get the most effectiveness out of your deck. So with Captain Ingathrod, he's so pricey to get out of your command zone. What you want to do is, if he dies, you just want to pay 1 black, 1 colorless, and pay 2 life and put him back into your hand, and then recast him is what you want to do. So that's going to create a nightmare for your opponents if they can't kill your commander. So I took the Phyrexian Rager out and put Phyrexian Reclamation in. Next, I took the Neolith out, kind of pricey CMC, and then I replaced him with Argentium Armor. They're both the same CMC. And this, again, black and blue have a hard time with permanents once they've tabled. And this guy is the same CMC as that goofy creature. But then you can equip him for 6, and then equipped creature gets +6/+6, and whenever it attacks, destroy target permanent. So we're talking Mazes of Ith. We're talking... And you know, if you put on your commander, now he's a 9/15 with menace, and it destroys the worst for you permanent on the whole table. So that's what I saw when I looked at this deck. The hardest thing, the most problematic thing it was going to have is you don't want to get stalled and get into a stalemate situation where you're not able to attack with your horrors because somebody has matched you in creature power or surpassed you in creature numbers, and now you can't attack or you lose your team. So with this, you can kill the most problematic creatures and permanents on the board. Next, I decided to put a Displacer Kitten in there because there's a lot of ETBs in this deck. And so I counted them up, and this is an amazing card. 1 blue, 3 colorless, Displacer Kitten, Cat Beast, Avoidance. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So I counted them up, and there's 27 non-creature spells in this deck as far as artifacts, soul rings, enchantments, so have you. And so, you know, if you happen to crack one of these in a pack, Cool. If you go look at my Battle at Baldur's Gate box opening, I cracked this, and so I got pretty lucky. I love this card. If you have one, cool. If not, it's not the end of the world if you don't put it in this deck. But this guy's really good. If you play a Ravenous Chupacabra in this deck, or a Shriek Mauler, or there's a few other ETBs that ETB and destroy creatures. You could bounce that. You could blink that guy, and then he comes back in and kills another creature. It helps with the killing of your opponent's creatures onslaught that you want to do, so your guys get through. And Woe Strider is a card that I would take out for Displacer Kitten. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Woe Strider is just a wacky card. So I would take that out and replace it with something. One of these cards. I took out Psychosis Crawler because, again, we could all agree he's a horror. He works in other decks, not so much in this one. So I took him out, and I replaced him with a Chroma's Memorial. So Psychosis Crawler's 5 artifact for 5 CMC. Chroma's Memorial is 7. Again, if this may be not a not so budget replacement, but this card is crazy, Captain Insano amazing, especially in decks like this with lots of creatures. I have one of these in my Air Force One deck, which is all 1/1 and 2/2 spirits. And a Chroma's Memorial in this deck would just make it sing, zing, zoom. This is an amazing card. I picked up one a month or two ago for about $7. It was a Chinese, so but this is such a really, really good card. So I would recommend putting this in there, because what happens when this hits the board is creatures you control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and from red. I wanted to give these creatures flying. I also put a wonder in this deck. So when it's in the graveyard, all of the horrors have flying. I want to be able to get through with these creatures so I can mill somebody's deck, take away resources that they can use against me, and then pull the best cards out of opponents' graveyards and put them into play. Menace and flying and first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and pro red and from black is really going to help you big time. It's going to allow you to attack at will. The black and the red players are just going to be unable to do anything to you. All they can do is sit there. There's nothing they can do. Red can destroy a Chroma's Memorial, but that's about it. Black can too with Feed the Swarm, but very rare. So if you can, put a Chroma's Memorial in there to give them flying first strike. So what that means now is you could attack at will, and black and red can't even come back at you. And really, no other colors are going to be able to come at you either, because you're going to have first strike and vigilance. So, and then on top of that, you're going to be killing everything with your Argentian armor and your assassins and your other death-dealing magic spells that you have in this deck. Chroma's Memorial is one of my favorite cards. Another potential card to put in here maybe would be Eldrazi Monument. It gives all your creatures flying, indestructible, but you have to sacrifice one each turn. If you're pumping out slugs or squids or whatever, 1/1 tokens, then that's no big deal. That could be another potential card to put in here. Grimoire of the Dead. I am going to put this card in there as well, because what happens is it's a 4 casting cost, 1 tap a discarded card, put a study counter on Grimoire of the Dead. Then tap it, remove 3 study counters from Grimoire of the Dead, sacrifice and put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. They're black zombies in addition to their other colors and types. So what we're doing with this is, just discard anything that you don't need. Once this thing has 3 counters on it, because of all the milling that you've been doing, there's mill spells in here and your creatures mill everything. Once you crack this, you're going to be able to get all creatures out of all graveyards onto your side, and now you just win the game. It's basically an insurrection, but stronger. It's basically a Rise of the Dark Realms, but much cheaper. Rise of the Dark Realms also does the same thing. All creature cards out of all graveyards come to your side. But I think it's 2 black, 5 colorless, something like that, or more. It's very pricey. It's very expensive as far as price and for CMC. If you have one, that would be a good card to put in here. I do have one, but I'm trying to keep the budget down on this as much as possible. Grimoire of the Dead, highly recommended. Just imagine the look on your opponent's faces when you hit that 3rd counter and crack this thing. So, and take all their creatures and kill everybody. So I took a Talisman of Dominance out and put Wonder in. Wonder, you're going to need flyers. You're going to need evasion. You don't want your creatures sitting there doing nothing. So between flying and menace, they're going to have all kinds of evasion, and they're going to be able to get in there. I took Everflowing Chalice out. With 38 lands and 11 mana rocks already, I figured a Talisman of Dominance and an Everflowing Chalice could come out. Everflowing Chalice is an okay card in this deck. It's a better card in like an Eldrazi deck or something like that. But I took that out and replaced it with potentially Netzahal Primal Tide. I love this guy. This guy, he is a Consecrated Sphinx, but better. He's 1 more to cast. He can't be countered. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you get to draw cards, and then discard 3 cards, exile him, he comes back into play. This guy is amazing. Once you ramp into him, once you start playing your creatures and that you hit your 7th land drop or whatever, and you play this guy, the game is really going to accelerate for you. You're going to be your grip is going to be so big, you're going to be putting out lands every turn, more mana rocks, more horrors attacking, killing everything. It's just going to it's going to spin out of control for your opponents. Another potential card to potentially put in here would be Shriekmaw. He's got Fear 3/2. When he enters battlefield, destroy target non-black, non-artifact creature. He's also got Evoke. So you could use him for just 2 mana and then maybe get him back out of your graveyard. Or with your Displacer Kitten or your unlicensed hearse, you could ETB this guy every turn and kill all the most problematic creatures your opponents have. Let's see what else we got. And then that's pretty much it. That's about 10 cards. That's 10 cards right there. So I wanted to show the other, but what you want to do with this deck, what I'm doing with my deck is Assassins, ETB creatures in, kill all the worst creatures, keep ETB in those creatures, and then drop one-sided board wipes to keep everybody down while you continue to do what you want to do. And this comes in the deck. Another potential card I would put in here would be Plague Wind. It does the same thing as Garruk's Wake. It wipes all your opponent's creatures, but not yours. Hex came in the deck, very good card. Curtain's Call, Undaunted, basically allows you to target the 2 worst creatures on the field for 1 black. Dark Hatchling, when he enters the battlefield, destroy target non-black creature. It can't be regenerated. Ravenous Chupacabra, same thing, but any color. Dusk Mangler, I left him in. I noticed a lot of other guys that changed their decks, took him out. I left him in. But who knows? You know what you could do. You know, you're trying to keep some horrors in there. You're not trying to take all the horrors out. You know, one card that you could potentially replace with this would be Visara. Visara is a 5/5 flying Gorgon that taps to destroy any creature. But you know, that's up to you. What I'm looking at when I see this deck is it needs help as far as the killing other creatures department, so you can do what the deck is supposed to do. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed my budget, not so budget build. I'll just call it the Uber upgrade. You know, if you have some of these cards, then cool. If you don't have some of these cards, you should get them and then put it in here anyway. Netzahal is only a couple of dollars, and I'm telling you, that guy is amazing. He's a 7/7 battle cruiser that allows you to have 10, 20 cards in your hand. He is absolutely amazing. Grimoire of the Dead. It's going to work really well in this deck. Argentium Armor, 50 cents to $1. Very cheap. So if you can't afford, you know, to get a Sword of Sinew and Steel, then you get you an Argentian Armor. You know, Kiku and these other assassins are just a couple of dollars. Taxrill is the one really that's going to cost you some money, but I'm telling you, he's one of the best cards in Commander. You should really get him anyway. So that's it. That's all I've got. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. We're coming to you from an extremely hot New Orleans, Louisiana. We will see you on the next one.